Hey.
Greetings and salutations, brother. How you doing? You with me?
What's going on, Ricardo?
I'm doing real good, man. I'm going to tell you, our Tuesday shows, you will know very quickly how I am doing. And that will be strictly according to my win and losses on my fantasy football team. I won both of them this week, but I'm not feeling good about one of my teams in particular. I should have taken your advice and did whatever I needed to do to acquire a tight end. It's just is not. If you guys understand fantasy football, hey, what's going on, Mr. 85 North? How you doing, my brother?
What's going on, 85 North? How you doing?
Yeah, if you either have a tight end or you do not, and there's nothing you can do about it.
How did Tanya do last night for you?
Actually, he's the reason I won, but I scraped by, and there's nothing about what I saw from the Green Bay's offense, and we're probably going to talk about that a little more, that gives me the impression that they will be consistent.
What's going on west of Tess? Yeah, they're struggling. A lot of times you look at the final score, that's the difference between watching the score and watching the games.
Well, I know who you are, little brother.
All right. We got them in the house. So we got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about college football.
Yep.
We had some seismic changes at the top, even though it wasn't any upsets way at the top. But when we talk about how conference wins and losses tie in, we got a lot to talk about there.
Yep.
And then we're going to talk about the NFL. This is We That Atlanta, and the Falcons result wasn't good, but we're probably one in the minority that's not surprising to us. So we'll talk about that a little bit because people have some different thoughts about that. What's going on?
Brother.
All right, let's get it popping in here. Before we jump all into the football, because we cover all sports from an Atlanta point of view.
Yes, sir.
The biggest thing is we talked a little bit about on Thursday the Braves and this pennant race. The race got as close as one game. The Braves went on a 4-game losing streak, but they were able to pull the last game against San Francisco out, and they're beating up on Arizona. They need all these wins against these sorry teams. Hey, I see, Gary. I see. And so right now it stands at 4. It's going to be critical. We only got a couple of weeks left in the season. And just in perspective, I am happy as a Braves fan that the Braves are in it. But again, our GM in his time, the Dodgers are built to withstand some of the injuries we had. And if we were in the Dodgers division or if we were in the Central division, we would be 18 and 13 games out.
Yep.
So I know it's all reshuffled when you get into the playoffs, but a lot of that, when you start talking about 4 games, 5 games, even 6, 8 games, that may be true. But when you start talking about double-digit games, getting almost to the 20s, those teams are clearly better than you, and they're playing in the postseason. Our plan in the postseason is Freedom Morton, and we don't know. So that's kind of where we are with the Braves.
I know. Let me say this about the Braves. That's kind of bothered me. I saw this in an article today, and I was like, man, if we had just, and it's more of a reflection of my concern with the liberty media people. If we had just paid Duvall that $5 million in arbitration, we might be up another 10, 12 games. He has been
good. Out. 10 or 12 games is a lot, Ricardo.
Yeah, that's a lot.
When you talk about F-WAR and wins above replacement.
I'm talking about the end of the year, Jimmy.
I know, but the best players are not worth 10 games.
I disagree. I think he's been like it. We'll have to have a conversation about baseball for me to explain about left, right hitting, about the importance of how it fits. But I'll explain why I say, he hits the ball really good, guys.
Yeah. What I will say is we wouldn't be where we are now without him. That's undeniable. Him and Rosario have hit incredibly.
Yes.
Jock Peterson has cooled down a lot.
Yep.
But I liked a little bit of the lineup shuffling that we did. We have Soler batting first, so that's big. Mm-hmm. The other thing, so everybody out in Braves and Atlanta fan land, keep your fingers crossed. Because it would still be a big achievement to get. I would rather get in the playoffs and get swept in the first round, which I don't think we are going to do. But I'd rather, because we're going to win the division, which fairly or unfairly takes us out of that wild card mix. But even if we don't have the best, just consistently going to the playoffs, we have several pieces that we need. Hey, you right about that, Squirt. Hey, representing the Squidly Diddleys. What's up, shipmate? And so then that goes. Squirt is a Padres fan. We went to a Padres game together.
Oh wow, it must have been nice.
Yeah, and so that race for that last wild card is incredibly exciting.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
We still have some pieces, but if we can get in the playoffs, make a little noise, I think that bodes better because we are a relatively young team outside of a couple of pieces. Still not happy that Freddie is not paid.
I don't get it.
We played that absolutely wrong. And when I say played that absolutely wrong, whatever you think you're saving, we didn't send the right message across across the whole Major League Baseball.
Exactly.
Like if Freddie can't get paid, who can get paid?
Exactly. To that point, what actually bothers me is like, the baseball world knows that you kind of got away with it with a couple of contracts that's so bad.
You just stole my point that I was about to say. Okay. Go ahead. I was just about to say it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Those contracts are so bad. Ronald Acuna and Albies is so bad that I told you. I guarantee you, when they have the trade agreement, when their next meeting, they're going to probably dead those two contracts. They're just ridiculously, they got over on them, both of them, and both of them they want to play baseball. They just want to be Braves for life.
Hold on, Ricardo. You got an MVP candidate at third base paying for less than $1 million.
Yeah.
So you got those two brothers underpaid. You got Riley underpaid, who has really come through, and Dansby Swanson, even though he's a little bit.
They haven't paid Dansby yet.
No, they haven't paid him. So that's when you don't pay Freddie, it's not.
And what does that say about the locker room? What does that say about with the locker room? It's like, okay, you know what? If we're not going to pay our captain, the leader in the locker room, the guy who's getting us the buns in the
veteran, but a young veteran. So you got a veteran like one of those end of the road 38-year-old guys as far as leadership, but he's still hitting. If you take out the beginning of his season, he's hitting over 300, and he's still producing, leading the team in home runs. So, I mean, but you're right. It goes back to trying to save $5 million on Adam Duvall, which kind of So, but I'm glad we got Soler and some of those guys. But Liberty Media is going to have to pay because they have the number one attendance in Major League Baseball. Number one.
I didn't know that. Wow.
They're number one in attendance.
Wow.
And they're one of only a handful of clubs that own all the entertainment around their park. And that's why you got to come down and go to a game because it is great out there. Like if we were going to a 7 o'clock game, I'd be like, hey, bro, 4 o'clock, we'll be out in Cobb County because, it's a bunch of places to eat, drink, walk around. Yeah. I mean, you need to be in there so that when you can watch the baseball, I mean, it's just a great venue. So, so good luck to the Braves. By Thursday, we'll know more. By next week, we'll know even more. Coming up, we're a week or so away from the start of NBA training camp.
Come on.
And the Hawks, on a recent article, the Hawks were rated as one of the 4 teams that have a chance to win the NBA championship. It was actually the Bucks, the Hawks, the Lakers, and somebody else.
Yeah.
It wasn't the Nets.
What?
Because people are leery of their
ability to stay healthy.
Their ability to stay healthy, right? Okay. You can write this off, but the big picture is the only way that they will stay healthy is excessive load management.
Mm-hmm.
And, they kind of showed last year, we believe we so, yeah, I mean, that's going to be something to watch out for. But one of the hashtags is the Hawks are also the team that has probably the most assets as far as trades. And I don't fully believe that the playoff Hawks team is together, right?
Yeah.
It's like we have a bunch of young guys at every position, but we only have one killer. And while he might be an elite killer, but we saw with Luka, one killer is not enough, right? And so Trey and his team went further than Luka's and his team because they were better coached and better meshed. And that's a lot because Rick Carlisle is a hell of a coach. Yeah. But what's not lost is even when AD went down and LeBron was by himself, you got to have another guy. And as much as I like all those guys and contracts aside, John Collins is not that guy. Bogey is not that guy. So we don't have
our fan base. You're right though.
I'm just keeping it real.
Yep.
So but it's not a lot of those guys available. Mm-hmm. And one of those guys available.
You going there? Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the hashtags. We ain't got no choice.
Okay.
One of those guys who is available, and only actual NBA writers, and me and Ricardo acknowledge this, is
months ago, by the way. Months ago. We did months ago. We were saying this when we were playing.
You said a month ago, I was going to say.
No, months ago.
Months ago.
Yeah.
Go back and look through our archives. Oh, yeah, Bogey is nice. I would love to have Bogey. It's very rare that a guy goes from not being that guy to being that guy. And I like Hunter a lot, but he wasn't that guy yet. He was showing signs that he could be that guy. But is he back to reset mode or what have you?
I'm going to tell you this now, Jameed. Now, I got a few family members on here. They're not going to see eye to eye with this. I've already tried with a couple.
But that's okay. That's all
right. We love y'all.
We're 100% authentic. That doesn't mean this is our opinion. This is our opinion. I think, so when you look at the argument, a lot of guys are saying, well, he would fit with the Golden State Warriors, and they have some young guys that the Sixers might want and what have you. But they don't have as many draft picks as we have. Like they have drafted guys, but not draft picks.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that Ben Simmons is coming here, but I just want to say that Ben Simmons is an uber talent.
Yes. Don't get it twisted, because I think a lot of our Hawks fans are, he didn't do this. Don't get caught up in that media. Don't listen to Steven. Listen, them dudes, what they do is they listen to each other and they regurgitate the same opinion over and over again. They don't even know what they're watching at halftime. Halftime, they so busy trying to get a talk show, they don't have time to watch it like that. Me and Jameed, that's what we do. I'm down here in the basement. I'm in the dungeon. I'm watching all the sports. You know what I'm saying? I'm going off of my opinion. And Jameed's he's on to something. Just listen to him.
I mean, Ben Simmons is one of the most talented players in the NBA. He was second for all. He was second for all for defensive player of the year.
Yep.
And if they voted after the playoffs, he would have been He would have won.
Yeah, oh yeah. AK Fitz.
And I mean, he averaged 17 points a game. And it wasn't like 6 seasons ago. The series before they played the Hawks, he averaged 19 points a game because Embiid went out. Don't believe me? Look it up. So that Hawks series was ugly. And we got into his brain. We got into his mind. We had a lot of guys of a size that matches up well with him, but not a skill.
Yeah. Okay. Let me jump in on a couple things too, because see, this is a hard teaching, but we're not telling you. We're just telling you our heart on this, okay? And it's great to be a fan, but I want to help you guys with a couple things. Number one, what you're going to have to get in your fandom, in your heart, is we actually have too much talent. I know it sounds crazy because you've probably never heard of this, but the GM has done an excellent job. And matter of fact, I can't think of any GM that has done better than him in the last couple of years. He's hit on his draft picks. He even has hit on his free agent picks, even including Rondo. Including Rondo because of what we got for Rondo. All right? So you follow me. So you're going to have to think of it as like somebody's got to go. They got to.
All these guys you have the fan crush on, and I have a fan crush on them too. We can't play Reddish, Hunter, Herter, and Jalen Johnson at the same time.
Yeah. See, they don't know who Jalen Johnson is yet. That's the problem. I think I shared this with Billings. I know we kind of agree on a lot, but we do vehemently disagree from time to time. But this one, we're pretty. Jalen Johnson can do a lot of the things that you see John Collins do now. And 2 years from now, he will be a better basketball player than John Collins.
Maybe by the end of, hey, listen. Yeah. He only had one bad draft pick. Well, Chris, let me know what the bad draft pick was. I don't remember. But I will say this. We can't keep everybody. We can't.
It's impossible. Ben fits what we want to do like a glove. I mean, you talking about adding the best perimeter defender in the entire league.
We have plenty of shooting. Our first guard off the bench in the playoffs, Lou Williams, is moved down 2 slots. So, and I think Johnson might be a backcourt player.
I think so too.
I think Johnson might be a backcourt player. It depends on what the Hawks allow him to do, but he might be a backcourt player.
It's weird because today's NBA is, you know how it is. It's positionless basketball.
Right.
But if we had him, we would have yet another ball handler. Listen, for whatever we heard or whatever first of all, you're not going to get Ben for lower than you can get right now.
Right.
He done told them people, I ain't coming to your camp. Nothing. He's not trying to, Maury Spellman. Yeah, that was a bad pick. Yeah. But they got to trade. They traded that pick. They traded him for a pick, I believe. So this GM doesn't make mistakes, and when he does, he cleans up his mess. So I like him. Trevor Williams, he agrees. He says, I like Ben. I like Ben Simmons.
Well, I mean, if Ben Simmons was the secondary ball handler and playing with an elite point guard, because that's the thing we forget about with Trey. Like, we see all his highlights, and we're like, oh, man, Trey can shoot, which he really can't. He's a scorer more than a shooter. But what we forget is Trey led the NBA in assists. So that I mean, let's not lose track of that. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there so that if something is put together, Hawks fans are not caught on surprise, because not having to play Ben Simmons would unlock Trey in the playoffs. And having that kind of defensive guy wipes out
exactly.
It wipes out any defensive shortcomings on the rest of the team.
Listen, hear me, guys. A couple things I want to address Chris' point a little bit, because we got to move on, because we got a long show. We got a lot of things we want to hit. But Jalen Johnson is going to be a great player, but he can't do what Ben Johnson.
Not today.
Not today. Not for a while. This defense is on another level, and it's one of the things you don't appreciate because of the scrutiny he's going under now. Number one.
Right.
I want to bring something else up though, in terms of imagine Ben bringing the ball up, Trey playing off the ball. Let me tell you something. If you think Trey is a scorer now,
stat time, Ricardo.
All right, go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Which player shot the highest percentage of corner threes in the NBA?
Oh, I believe it was Trey Young. No? Was it not Trey Young? I believe it was going to say Trey Young. We've had a couple of glitches this season.
The problem was his volume was so low because he has to handle the ball all the time.
Exactly.
And so if he had an alternative ball handler and he could spot up for some more of those threes, just a slight increase of the volume would increase the offensive efficiency. So I just wanted to throw that in on your point about that secondary ball handler in the game. It can help with the rotations. If you had Ben in there with Lou, you had Ben in there with Jalen. So anyway, we're good. We're going to be a really good team. But if you think this is the team that we're going to roll out in the playoffs, I don't believe that's correct. Because I think we're going to be so good that it's going to be like, oh, we're this good? We might need, because it might be like, we might try to get that guy next year. But if we start off this good, we might go ahead and get that guy in here now. And like you said, Ben Simmons don't become available in the NBA.
No. No.
So the transition, let's talk a little bit about what happened in college football. So it was some major and minor upsets, right? And let's just review the ones that have to do with us as Bulldog fans and what have you, right? So one of them you're going to think I'm skipping over, but we're going to come back to that one. Oklahoma looked very mortal against Nebraska. They didn't cover the spread. They missed the spread. Oregon looked good. They dilly-dallied a little bit in the first half, but they turned it on. Iowa still looked strong. Clemson struggled greatly against Georgia Tech. So as a Georgia fan, you had to be cheering for Clemson in that game because we need all our wins to look good, right? Texas A&M did good. Cincinnati passed a pretty good on-the-road test at Indiana. They struggled, and then they pulled away with a 15-0 second half. Ohio State struggled against Tulsa, who wasn't even those T teams all sound similar. Is it Tulane? Is it Tulsa? Is it no? Tulsa is the sorry one, and they were giving Ohio State all they could handle. They didn't cover. Auburn went up into Penn State in a whiteout, and they played well. They had some curious calls down the stretch. They should have covered. They actually should have won, but Penn State did well. And we'll talk about where they are in the AP. But here's the thing: Penn State played the seventh best SEC team at home, right? We'll talk about that, Trevor. Hold up. But Penn State beat the seventh best SEC team at home and moved up 5 places in the AP poll. Is that power of the SEC? Notre Dame struggled the whole game, outgained by Purdue, but they pulled it off in the end. Here's the biggie. Number 13 UCLA lost to Fresno State. What does that have to do with the Bulldogs? We here talking about Southeast football.
Help them out.
When Georgia beat Clemson, what they gave themselves is an out. And that out is if they can win the rest of their games, they're in the playoffs, win or lose the results of the SEC championship. That's for both teams. But but as a Georgia fan, you also had to be cheering for Alabama to win all their games. Because the only way you come in that thing is if it's both of them are Hold the Alabama ones. Come on,
We'll hold your comment, James.
Yeah. I mean, because you guys making some fire comments, and I want to expire, but we haven't even talked about that game.
Mm-hmm.
But part of being able to get in there, because it's still only 4 teams, is to keep somebody else out.
Mm-hmm.
And Oregon needs the rest of the Pac-12 to look good so that their wins look better.
Yeah.
Well, Utah lost again, and their quarterback, Charlie Brewster, transferred out of there. They pulled him. He was like, I'm out of here.
Mm-hmm.
If I was Carson Beck's dad, I would be doing that, but that's a whole nother story. But so Utah lost, UCLA lost, USC has a loss on the season, so that makes those games look worse than they actually were. That makes your wins look worse. Iowa State came back. Virginia Tech lost, which is bad for Clemson. Coastal Carolina, Ole Miss looks terrifying because they have the best defense they've ever had. Arizona State lost to BYU. BYU should have moved up more than they did. Arkansas, a future Georgia opponent and Alabama opponent, looked really good beating Georgia Southern. North Carolina rebounded from an earlier loss in the season and beat Virginia by 20. Michigan State beat a flagging Miami team by 21 at home, which is one of those games that was Bama's claim to fame, right? And Michigan is running up the score, and it's like, we don't know if it's Fugazi or real because they still are passing for less than 150 yards a game. So can they beat Ohio State and those teams with that little pass? We're going to see coming up. So that the Big Ten stuff is going to work itself out. So we left out 2 big games, and we're going to talk about them. The first,
well, okay,
mollywopped a good South Carolina team, right? And they look like the best team in the country because Alabama was struggling with Florida. All right. So it came down to a 2-point conversion. And in the first half, it was to the point where I was about to turn to something else. Alabama was up 21-3, and Florida, they couldn't get it together. So Florida, in the end of the game, they outgained Alabama by 170 yards. They ran for 270 yards. And so it was kind of like an indictment. And Trevor, that's your Georgia goggles on. Although Georgia looks like the most complete team, they're never going to drop the number 1 team without them losing. Like, even if we had beat South Carolina 79-0, they wouldn't have dropped them.
And especially if that number 1 team's Alabama.
Right.
I mean, it's a marketing play with that, to employ with that as well.
And James Priest brings up a point. This is the first time that a lot of those players ever played in front of a crowd like that. I think one of the things, because the season is back in action, that we've kind of lost sight of is that the games last year didn't have anybody at them. So it is a new thing. And Georgia does have a lot. I mean, Alabama has a lot of young guys. They're actually younger and experienced than Georgia's good players. And
I don't like that. I like that for a couple reasons. Because hat on the hat, Alabama's more talented, and it kind of negates how good Florida is. Florida is a good program. What happened was in that game is not what usually happens in a Todd Grantham coach game. He adjusted in game, and he usually isn't really good at that. But for whatever reason, because I'm telling you, I thought when it was like, was it 21-6,
21-3 or something like that,
21-3, 21-6, 21-3. I was like, looking like Alabama going to Alabama.
I mean, like a killer.
Yeah, and Todd Grantham adjusted, and I think Bama is still, they got all the horses, and I think I don't know if you can use that as an excuse, because what was it? It wasn't like, okay, Alabama didn't play in front of a crowd last year. Well, Florida didn't either. You know what I'm saying? Florida didn't either. So I'll think, yeah, Florida's D is real. They got a really good defense. They recruit the same kids. They go after the same kids each and every year. So, I thought I don't know if you can use the crowd as an excuse to say, because I think it negates from how, I thought Florida actually just really played well. Now, I knew Alabama was going to win, but I believe Jameed was the first one that told us, hey, you know what? you might want to bet the under on this one. They don't look.
No, I said that I don't think that Alabama.
I don't know if I know what over under means, but I think you thought that this might be a good game, might be a tough game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Florida, it was even tougher than I thought it was going to be, and so that brings up 2 points. One, I think it's time to have the grown people talk with our fellow Georgia fans, right?
Oh, okay, let's do it.
Because we have started talking about running the schedule, and we let's slow down on that. Let's take it week by week, because we have faced the best team that we're going to face in the regular season, but we have not faced the 4 next best teams we're going to play.
Yeah.
Vandy is going to be a cakewalk. But Arkansas
looking better and better.
We brought in Matt Luke, and we decided to go more athletic on our offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Pittman was just like, give me the biggest talented guy, and we could just go blow you off the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Sam Pittman got those guys down there in Arkansas. Mm-hmm. Their line looks like our line looked when we had all those big old hogs.
Yep. Good defense, too.
And the same thing with the defensive line. Yep. So that is going to be a physically challenging game, because that's going to be a game that the defensive line is going to be as big as our offensive line. Mm-hmm. And their offensive line is going to be as big or bigger than our defensive line. And that's not something that we're used to dealing with, And so that's not going to be as easy a game as we think. Then we're going to take a tough Auburn team who has a better is not the right word for their coach, a different type of coach.
Yep.
A coach who is prepared.
Yeah, he's an X&O guy. That's what he does.
Coach, and now I would think he was more serious if he benched Bo Nix, but that's neither here nor there. Keep him playing.
That's some politics with that. That's not going to happen.
Right.
Yeah. They also have the best running back, in my opinion, in the Southeastern Conference, if not the country, in Tank Bigsby. He's really good.
I mean, if you want to do the stat boy thing, you can say, well, actually, Tank Bigsby is the most talented back.
Yes,
in there. So that's not doubtful.
It hurts me that he begged to go to Georgia, and we said no, we're waiting on someone else, and we're going to regret that every time we play that boy.
Kentucky is going to be a tough out. We have to play Florida.
Yep.
And that same Florida team, that show Alabama weak. We got to play them.
Yep.
We got to play them.
And they're not afraid of us.
Not at all.
And they have talent. They got kids that we recruited that ended up going to Florida.
Hey, man.
They got kids that we recruited that went to Georgia and then transferred to Florida.
Hey, listen. One thing for sure, they're not intimidated by us. And so those are we finished with Missouri, Tennessee that we had to, watch out and not get overconfident for, and then Charleston Southern. And Georgia Tech is going to be a tough team. Hopefully. I don't want any of those 56-0 games. But I say that to just kind of pour a little bit of water on us, because we already done fast forwarded to the SEC championship game.
That's one of those things that, if you're a Georgia fan long enough, you'll get out of that, because this isn't the first time we had the best team in the country and we didn't have nothing to show for it. We were the better team. It's not me in my red and black glasses, which I have a pair, but I'm telling you, we were better than Alabama when we lost to them in 2016, for sure. Coach Kirby just got out coach.
Right. And I saw Shane Beamer kept his team fighting all the way, getting more into the Georgia game. We did a great job of the running game. I'm looking at George Williams that Fresno wasn't an upset.
He's right. It wasn't. You actually one that pointed that out.
Yeah,
you were like, "Hey, look, man."
They played the Ducks.
Yeah, George Williams.
And so that it makes me leery of because the Pac-12 doesn't have any room for error. Their champion has to be undefeated.
Gotcha.
And I'm not sure if they're going to be able to pull that off. USC is playing better, and then their loss earlier in the season might cost Oregon, because if Oregon beats, if they're able to beat Oregon. But the Bulldogs were more committed to the running game. And, I thought the offensive line is still a work in progress. We still don't have the 5 most talented guys out there. We have
I disagree. I think
work together.
I disagree. I think that we are playing a couple. Man, this politics. Man, we could do a whole show when I say politics. That's usually code for something. Like there's other things going on at play. And the simple solution is this. We have the best, probably the number 1 pick in the draft as a guard playing left tackle for us right now. So we need to move him on the inside.
Right.
And we got a young guy, Broderick Jones. He'd be a pretty good left tackle. He'd be really good. For us, he's pretty good because that's how good our offensive line is. The thing is, you'll notice these changes around after game 4. And why? Because that's when they start having the redshirt conversation. Because you can only play 4 games in the season without the redshirt. What's going to happen after week 4 is they're going to tap a couple shoulders and say, come on in the office, and basically say something to the effect of, hey, man, we're grateful for what you're doing for us. We think that you're good enough to make the 2-deep roster per se, but you won't be starting. We're going to let what's name have your spot. It's just open, honest conversation. Right now, the way the schedule fits, it's, hey, we play Vanderbilt. You can stick it. I can play guard, and we'll be all right.
Don't underestimate Vanderbilt.
You know what? Usually 98% of the time, that is true. There are probably 2 programs you can kind of underestimate. And one of them is Vanderbilt football. They don't care. And they got a butt what's coming, and we're really, 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 really good. I don't want to pump the Georgia break. We do want to, pump the Georgia breaks a little bit. You guys can go a little far with it. Alabama's still Alabama. Florida's still Florida. And that's the point of what we're sharing. But Georgia's really, really good.
And, Daniels looked good. It seemed you could tell the guys he has chemistry with. And here's the whispers.
Oh, boy.
Blaylock is almost back. But closer to him is Darnell Washington. Yeah. And George Pickens has been cleared and has been running routes for 20 minutes every week. And those guys added to the guys we already have. My player that I claim, Brock Bowers.
Oh boy, that kid's gonna play.
Listen. I love Darnell and what have you. Whatever package we have, he can't get Bowers off the field. His talent jumps off of the screen.
Well, see, here's the thing though. What's going to happen is you're going to have a lot more 2 tight end sets, which our OC he likes to run anyway. You take that big 6'8", 250-pound guy, and you just put him in. Hey man, you go run 5 yards, run out. They can't stop that. But if you're going to have to put 2 guys on him. And if you are foolhardy enough to leave that Bowers kid one-on-one, good luck to you.
He's not made for college players. Like I see guys coming on the blind side to clip his knees.
I saw that too.
And he just feels it. And he just scoots away from it. No way he could see him. He's turned the other way. He just skirts that hit. He did that. He's done that about 6 times. That's a natural. You can't.
And he might be our best route runner outside of. I actually like Adonai Mitchell as well. And Blaylock was the best route runner when he was here. And of course, Pickens is just another world. But right now, as we're talking, I would say that Bowers might be our best route runner on the entire team. He's that good. He's special. True freshman.
And then on defense, I think we have the best front 7 in, and I mean, even Bama fans would tell you that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I think the back end is somewhat suspect, but not as suspect as it seems. I think that South Carolina has an NFL wide receiver.
Goodness, that kid, man.
And man, he snatches that ball.
Man,
he snatches that
he
ball
a couple times,
and he has that awareness. And the last thing that comes with young cornerbacks, except if their name is Darryl Stingley, is that awareness, when that ball awareness. Yep. So, and really that's what separates, even in the pros, the elite from the good. These guys might be 5 stars. I don't know that any of them are elite, but they've got to increase that ball awareness. And so that game could be a good lesson as far as that, because Ringo did get an interception last week, which showed good awareness. And Ringo didn't do as bad. He did get beaten. It was called back because of a penalty. But we've just got to have more ball awareness, because it's not like they're getting 5 yards behind us. So we just have to have a little more ball awareness so that we can make plays on the ball. Because we don't have to catch it. They have to catch it.
Yeah. I don't know. Kid Kendrick, the one he caught over, was it Kendrick? Hey, he played that as good as you can play it.
You can't play that any better. You can't
play that any better.
The only thing I would say is, once you realize you got an NFL guy, don't go for the interception. Just knock it down. You
know what happened? I think before that catch, they didn't know they had an NFL guy. Yeah. After that catch, they go, you're one of those. There's only about 4 or 5 of those. We got one. His name's George Pickens. So we know what it looks like when we see it. You're one of those. So after that, now I do think that listen, we don't have very many weaknesses on our squad, period, or UGA. And I say we because we're we are UGA. We're all of you. We're Alabama. We're Florida. We're all that. But my heart is the guy. You see that on the background. James Priest, he's still my brother, though. One of our weaknesses, I would say, as probably defensive backs, and I'm leaning towards. I'm sure that when Smith comes back, the West Virginia transfer, he will get some time from Amir Speed. Speed will probably be the guy, the odd man out. I think he'll still get some playing time. Like Jameet said, you're dealing with 3, 4, and 5 stars. These kids are talented. They just need to get on the field, and I think sometimes you just need to get beat a couple times to get the confidence in you. You know.
Yeah. So we're not gonna. What'd you say, James? Leave him up.
Oh, sorry.
Bryce Young will be the number 1 pick, and
we'll see.
Might be a little
maybe number 1 quarterback. Let's leave it at that.
Be a little early. Yeah. He's looking good. But it's a lot of time between now and 2023. Yeah. But I don't think we're going to learn anything about the Bulldogs this week. But and we'll hold you to this, James.
Sure will. You know I will.
But what they got to focus on their own internal improvement. They've got a lot of rotations to work out, and I don't feel sorry for them. Like the sideline coaches, like, well, why don't they do this? What? Listen, man, all those running backs are talented. None of them is a superstar. The same thing with the wide receivers beside Pickens. All of them have a lot of talent. Nobody is a superstar. The superstars we have is Bowers and Pickens. So those other guys can become superstars, but those are our guys. Those are our NFL guys. And speaking of the NFL, it was a rough week if you're a Falcons fan. But it was a lot of good games. The Thursday night game was good. Washington pulling it out with the BS offside call that was later ruled not to be offside. Yeah. The Bengals and the Bears game was interesting. Andy Dalton got injured and Fields came in, and he didn't look that great. But neither did Joe Burrows. Joe Burrows threw 3 interceptions. 2 of them were tipped, so I guess that doesn't count in this new never fought in the quarterback NFL. We'll talk about our own problems with that. But Joe Burrow helped them win the game. And it looks like it might be Justin Fields' team from now going forward.
The
Texans and the Browns. The Browns didn't cover, but and the Texans were hanging it with them until Tyrod Taylor got hurt.
Yeah, the Texans were hanging with them like a month, right?
Yeah. So I think they're so they're starting Davis Mills, and they're the Thursday night game.
So fantasy aficionados, you might want to pick up Carolina. Carolina defense was actually playing really well, by the way.
Already, right? Yeah. The Rams beat the Colts. The Rams started off hot. The Colts came back, and Carson Wentz did Carson Wentz things, which is get injured, scrambling. That I agree, Trevor. We have had some good games, and they came up short. But now Carson Wentz has 2 sprained ankles. The Bills dominated the Dolphins, and Tua went out with a rib injury, James Priest. And this has really, I mean, and it's unfair. Tua is playing quarterback on eggshells, but even as an objective non-Miami fan, you got to think that they do the right thing, because I don't know if Tua is built for this. The Patriots dominated the Jets. The Wilson threw 4 interceptions in his first 11.
Hold on, Jimmy. I got it. What's the right thing? I don't want to make no assumptions. What are you saying that Miami needs to do?
Oh, well, now, I mean, they need to inquire into Deshaun Watson, but I don't know if he's playable from a franchise thing. But, I mean, last year they had a chance to pick another quarterback.
Yeah, they did.
And I told you what I would have done. I would have picked another quarterback.
It's okay to say you made a mistake in the days of NFL.
Yeah, I mean, Robert Griffin and Kirk Cousins. I mean, you can't. You're sitting here being obstinate, and you'll be in the unemployment line. And as a GM, a coach, you'll have another chance. GMs don't get other chances. So, yeah, that's unfortunate. The Patriots bludgeoned the Jets. Wilson threw 4 interceptions in his first 11 passes. And going back to it, at the time of the draft, I like Wilson. I still like Wilson. But New York, of course, is doing it the wrong way. They're throwing too much. They threw him into the thing. They don't even have a decent backup to play with him.
No, they were all in on
it. They have Joe Flacco, but he's on the injured list.
Yep.
I would have got a guy who could play and maybe rotated Wilson in. I mean, when Falcons fans, I was talking about when we were talking about when Falcons fans are talking about, oh, we got to get rid of Matt Ryan, or oh, you guys just wanted a mobile quarterback and all that stupid crap. The plan was, or those of us who were advocating was saying, we still want Matt Ryan to play, but we want to have the guy in the building, because we just seeing what happens when you just shove a guy out on the ledge. So Wilson is having a tough time. The Eagles outgained the 49ers. They outplayed the 49ers. They just couldn't score a touchdown. The 49ers are in that same situation where they don't trust their quarterback. Garoppolo threw 11 times. That wasn't a glitch. I know we had some technical problems. He threw 11 times in an NFL game. That wasn't preseason. They don't trust him. Trey Lance will be coming soon. The Raiders came in to Pittsburgh and whooped them. I mean, the score was 26-17. The Steelers never looked like they were in the game. And they lost some of their key defenders, including Alu and TJ Watt, to injury. And, you know, again, if TJ Watt was in a different demographic, it would be more criticism of him missing the whole preseason and get injured. But we're not going to say that, because we can't say that about TJ Watt. Because I'm pro player. So I want him to get his money. But let's keep that same energy when another guy holds out and then he gets injured because he didn't play training camp in the preseason. Yeah.
To answer Gary's question real quick, will Cam get some love this season from anywhere? No, he will not.
I don't know how you watch Cam and don't think he's washed. Like, if you were to bring him in, I would say Cam will actually be a good fit in New York with the Jets, so they could have somebody who could take some of those snaps. But no team.
Okay, James Priest had another question. Let's be honest, though. If we drafted Fields with the performance Matt has had, he would be starting now. Yes, no, I don't think it's just about what Matt hasn't been. We were going to talk about that real quick. To me, I know he has a couple points he wants to make. The only point I'll make is I don't think that Hennessy, and I'm not sure if Mayfield should be starting on any NFL team, much less, I don't know if they should be on an NFL roster. They're that bad. They're really bad. I didn't know, and I'm a numbers guy, but I'll admit this. I didn't know before it happened with Mayfield that a starting left guard, I didn't know that it would be possible to get that low of a score on PFF. I didn't know. I was shocked. I was like, are you sure? And if we're going to talk about PFF numbers, by the way, I know that McGarry, he graded out okay, but he wasn't that good to me either because he didn't look that good either. I think that
and the justification was because Shaq Barrett didn't get 7 sacks. We didn't get 7 sacks last week. So
okay, that's what we're doing.
Yeah. So and we'll get to that game in just a second. Just to review it, the Saints stunk up the joint. And the Panthers are looking good. Like they did it right. They got their transition quarterback, which was Bridgewater, and got the rest of their team good. Made Bridgewater take all those losses, and then they brought in a young quarterback to lead the franchise. The Broncos struggled a little bit at first with the Jaguars. The Jaguars are terrible. From a technical perspective, just Google it. Look up articles reading about all the micro mistakes that Urban Meyer made. And I just hope he doesn't mess Trevor Lawrence up because he's a Georgia boy and I like him.
Yeah. He's not going to finish the season, is he, Jameet?
Huh?
Is Urban Meyer going to finish the season?
Yeah, he'll finish the season because he's just that obstinate, but not long term. And then you have the Cardinals beat the Vikings, who missed a last-minute field goal. That was a wild up-and-down game. And the Vikings have had 2 wild up and games, and now they're 0-2. The Cowboys ran the ball down San Diego's throat. There were 2 controversial calls that took touchdowns off the board, and they beat San Diego. The Titans beat the Seahawks in overtime. The Seahawks were up 30-14 in the fourth quarter, and they just started going 3 and out. And I had to say, when you let Russell cook too much, then he always burns the fries. So you got to run the ball still. The Chiefs and the Ravens was a great game. Lamar showed his heart, threw a pick 6, threw an interception. It was just a great.
Jameet, we were hearing some kind of disparaging comments about Lamar in the first quarter, didn't we?
Yeah. I'm looking for that particular guy.
And then he was nowhere to be found.
and the Packers, who are an inconsistent team, were losing to the Lions, and they blew them out in the second half. And then the Falcons came back. We lost by 23 to the Bucks. And we started off looking terrible, and we actually brought it to within 3 in the third quarter. We actually did well in the red zone. And then we had 3 picks, 2 pick sixes. That never happens. That never happens. And we just kind of fell apart on offense and defense. So yeah, we
real quick to answer George's question. No, they will not trade Zeke because you can't trade a running back after you pay him.
He has no trade.
Yeah, no trade value. So
if you have him in fantasy,
you give him away.
Trade him. If you have him in fantasy, do trade him. The Cowboys can't.
Yes. You should have picked up Pollard if you had.
Right. Immediately try to get Pollard. I mean,
that's your fault.
Zeke is. I mean, this whole myth, like quarterbacks can say, "I'm rededicating myself," because they could be fat and slow and not reading the field right. Running backs can't. When a running back has a down year, that's it. They've fallen off that.
To your point, my brother had brought up a comment from a commentator from a sports show early on this morning. We don't advertise other other TV shows, so we're not going to say the name of the show. But I guess the commentator stated that he thought that the Falcons would be 5-3, I guess, by week 9. And I will say this, because I've been super pessimistic, especially after that first loss. If we're going to win, this is the time to win, because we play the Giants. That should be the worst team in football. And we play I believe Washington after that. Their defense is great, but their quarterback, I know, is worse than Matt Ryan. I believe we got the next 5 games. They're all very winnable games. So if we're going to make a move, now's the time. I even saw on Twitter today that we're having a John Brown come in. Which is good because of what I had been sharing. I said, look, Calvin Ridley's good, but you need to have someone who can keep the defensive backs honest. We need a burner, and John Brown is that. So, we'll see. But if they're going to win, if the Falcons are going to do something, it starts this week with the Giants. So, we'll see.
And so, and all the Dean P slander, slow down on that. We got to have the smallest line and linebackers.
Mm-hmm.
And he's creating opportunities. We got to get some turnovers. We got to get some picks. We got to get some stops. Listen, I'm not giving up on the season. I'm not giving up on the season if we go 0-16. I think that I don't think we're going to win against the Giants because I think the Giants feel like this is a winnable game for them. I think that if we're going to turn it around, it has to include winning this game.
I just thought of something. Is Terrell going to play? Because he had a concussion.
Yeah. It's possible for him to get out of the concussion protocols in a week. Does that mean he's got to play well? So, clearing the concussion protocols and being ready to play two separate things. Because you can't study the whole time. You're clearing the protocol. So
I'm with James Priest. He says I ain't blaming the coaches. They inherited a mess. I'm going to give him a pass this year. The only concern I have in reference to the coaches is it looks like from the outside looking in that our young coach Arthur Smith seems a little blindsided. They look like, they're a little worse than I thought.
Right.
I got the impression that he thought he could do something with this squad, and I knew that wasn't going to happen. I knew we didn't have time.
I would say Mayfield and Hennessy didn't earn any preseason snaps out. So I think that is McGarry either. So this idea that we got to draft all over in that offensive line, that ain't gonna happen. We need some people to become good who we don't think is good now. So we need some coaching. If we're gonna get to 3-5, much less 5-3, it's gonna take some extreme coaching and some playmaking because we don't have the pure talent.
It's according to who you ask. James Bill says, I may have missed it, but are we in rebuilding mode? And the best way to answer that is it's according to who you talk to.
We say yes. We said yes before the season started. Before we started losing games by an average of 24.5 points, we said we were in rebuilding mode.
And that's okay. Yes, that's okay. I think that, James Priest, we are. You got to, my mama used to say, a strong man knows his weaknesses. We got to know where we're at. You know what I'm saying? We don't have great O-line talent. We don't have great running back talent. Our best running back might be the guy who was the third running back for the Bears last year, and he's a wide receiver and kick returner.
Right.
Still early, but we just don't have a lot of talent, guys. So it's okay. We got a really good coach. I like the scheme that we're trying to run. We just need the players, and that's going to take some time. So rebuild is fine. Don't be afraid of that word. Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with it. Why didn't the front office say to rebuild? No front office says rebuild.
Nobody says
Miami was going through their rebuild. They never said they were going through the rebuild. The Panthers last year never used the word rebuild.
Yeah. Detroit Lions last night didn't say rebuild, but they are going through a rebuild.
Right.
Well, guys, for myself and Professor Billingsley, we thank you so much once again for joining us. We appreciate you. We will see you next Thursday. Remember, we're Tuesdays and Thursdays, 7 o'clock my time, Central Standard Time, 8 o'clock a lot of y'all's Eastern Standard Time. That's 5 o'clock for you, George Williams, Pacific Standard Time. We thank you so much once again. For myself and Jameed, peace up, A-Town down.